Cooperation.
Cooperation. Around the world.
Yes.
According to
yes.
a Marxist reading
okay.
of capitalism?
No, I think the 20th century.
Whose interpretation of capitalism?
Let me just get a few ground rules laid here. The 20th century was defined by a competition for resources. The first half of it was a very bloody competition. The second half of it was almost a competition that resulted in annihilation. The 21st century needs to be defined by putting away that competition, which is the very essence of capitalism, and redefining the way that we're going to go forward. And
really, you don't think that we'll follow our human trajectory into violence and competition and death and destruction and combat?
No, I don't. No.
Why would we? Here we're reverting back to question number one. But why would we change our traditional, habitual behavior for century, for millennia, of fighting over resources?
Because it's the only way to survive.
Ah, and yet we might battle ourselves into failure.
Let's see. I won't be here.
You might be. And after capitalism, in Marxist theory, capitalism and in the industrial era is communism, is pure communism. And then in fact, pure communism cannot exist without capitalism and industrialism having run a complete course. So in fact, you are, as I have long suspected, a deep communist because you believe at the end of the capitalist system becomes this need to share resources and to stop competing against them and to share them within the society.
You see, I'm spinning my message. It's cooperation.
You just don't want to be affiliated with the Russians, those darn Russians, those communists.
I love Russians.
Which is I think goes back to the political religious conversation, which is that even political ideologies, once implemented, just like religious ideologies, once implemented and carried out in practice, end up distorted and manipulated by individuals who have certain political or social aspirations that are aside from that theory. When theory gets implemented, it never looks the way it looked in theory. So
when I take a look at the true anti-globalization movement, and I remember saying to you quite some time ago, I think globalization will come out of the anti-globalization movement, because the way that they are seeing globalization as it's presently being implemented, it isn't globalization at all. It is once again a competition for resources, all of which go to the top of the tree.
Not the sharing of those resources.
The anti-globalization movement, which is made up of tens of millions of people who are trying to defend what they have, but in a spirit of cooperation with their neighbours, and it's a very grassroots kind of opposition to mass corporatization of the world, and I think
maybe that's where you see that. Maybe that is where that skid is happening, where that transition is actually happening, as you see the movement for a just global structure coming out of the anti-globalization movement as a path for diminishing the power of the capitalist.
What is very interesting is how those corporate structures tend to view or want the rest of us to view the anti-globalization movement. Right. And if you look at
fringe elements of
society, exactly, which
is
exactly what we've been dealing with the whole time.
Guys, man.
Yeah, exactly. When you see the anti-globalization movement depicted on the television news, it's a few anarchists in torn black clothes smashing McDonald's window. What they don't address is for example, the rice farmers of India using legislation to prevent agriculture corporations from patenting all the strains of basmati rice in order that they can control those markets. And there it was, all these poor farmers who managed to get together and oppose agribusiness. That is the end of capitalism.